Let's start with Zakai Zeigler's lawsuit. So we were talking about this before this segment began. Is this just a kind of a way to expedite what's already out there, but it feels like they're dragging their feet where athletes could all have 5 years no matter what?
Well, Zakai won't be the only one to do this. There'll be a lot of people trying to get that fifth year. And again, his stance is, or his attorney's stance is, that there's that proposal out there that athletes should have 5 years anyway to play. Mm-hmm. Zakai didn't redshirt. He only played 4 years, so why should I not automatically get that fifth year? Yeah. It's a violation of antitrust, all that type of stuff. As we've talked about on this show over and over again, it gets down to now, we all follow sports, but you better be an attorney in this day and age if you can figure it all out, because there's going to be so many court battles and listen, hey, take a shot. It ain't going to hurt.
It definitely ain't going to hurt.
And there'll be others that will follow suit. And I'll say, look at Tennessee's role over the last 3 or 4 years and how things have changed. Go all the way back to Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt got popped for what the NCAA said was, $68,000 of impermissible benefits. Yeah. Think about how your boy Ament just got $3.2 million to play.
That was lunch.
And they run Pruitt out, and Tennessee gets off from having to pay the $12 million buyout that they owed him. And their role they were out front in NIL. They went and paid Nico Iamaleava $2 million when he was still in high school. And the NCAA was coming after him. They were going to rule him ineligible. They had already previewed the notice of allegations, and Tennessee says, whoa. State Attorney General, we're going to sue the NCAA. You cannot enforce anything NIL related. So Virginia was a part of that suit too. They back off. The NCAA has no teeth. And then 2 years later, Nico try to get more. They want $4 million. His family does. Tennessee says, not going to pay that kind of cash. So he goes off to UCLA, and now here we are with Tennessee the state saying, you can't cap us in this new house settlement deal. We'll pay what we want to pay. And state rules are trump any kind of rules at the NCAA. And now the NCAA is saying the 4 power conferences are saying, you got to sign this document. If you don't sign this document, we might kick you out of the conference,
let's dive into that.
Which is BS.
Let's dive into that when we come back. We were talking about Zakai Zeigler's lawsuit, kind of trying to expedite this whole idea that we all think that the NCAA is going to do this, give everybody 5 years of eligibility, and he's trying to make sure that it doesn't happen right after he can't do it. Right. So trying to expedite the situation a little bit. What was your question, Babs?
Is he going to win?
I'd say the deck stacked against him, but I don't think it's impossible. I mean, again, there are going to be a lot of kids trying to do this, and it's already out there on the table that that kids would get 5 years, and that way you sort of, whether you play junior college or whatever, you got 5 years to play, and I think that's what Zakai said. Listen, I didn't redshirt,
right,
and so if we're going to go to 5 years, why don't I get a fifth year? I played just 4 years. Go ahead.
I walked away when I was in Turkey. Mind you, Turkey was not Tennessee, and it was not University of Tennessee. And I remember sitting in my apartment saying, man, I got cheated, man. So in high school, I played 3.5 years. So you're supposed to get 8 semesters. I played 7 in high school. When I got to college, because I tore my ACL, it was the exact same thing. So I was like, man, I got cheated, dog. So I should have went. I was thinking I should have redshirted.
I was going to say you didn't redshirt and get another year.
I should have just got an extra year.
I mean, would you play at Oak Hill 1 year or 2?
Play 1.
You could have taken a medical.
But that didn't count against you, right?
No, it didn't count against. But so coming out of 8th grade out of West End, me and Terry Reynolds both. He was at Overton. He didn't play the first semester. I got held back in the 8th grade, so I missed the first semester because of tardies. Not because of grades, but because of tardies. I was tardy too much. So they held me back the first semester. So I missed the first semester of basketball going into my freshman year. So I played the second semester and then treated my sophomore year like it was my freshman year.
I think we're going to get to a point where there is a 5 years eligibility.
Yeah,
will it be, will Zakai and his attorney, Marco Scarza there in Knoxville, be able to argue it to a point where it happens? Because what he's asked for is an immediate injunction where he can turn around and play
right now
this coming year. Is it going to happen that fast? I don't think so. I hope for Zakai's case it does.
Injunctions are awarded randomly anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Whoever knows. And it depends on sometimes the judge. Maybe they get, a Vol for life. Who rules in that case? I don't know.
I go take the ball. I'm going to be a lawyer and then going to fast track to a judge just to make it happen.
Well, as I pointed out, Don, Tennessee attorneys, for the most part, now they did not rule in Alberto as soon as behalf.
Yeah.
They ruled against him.
That thing's completely dead, right?
Yeah, well, they're almost done.
Yeah.
Of course, knowing Tony and his team, they'll go on and win the World Series again after they played pretty poorly the last month and a half. But
yeah, just ask Slay about it.
They suck.
I don't think you can turn it around this fast. But I'm not an attorney. I wish I was. Well, I tell you what, man. Right now, it's all about billable hours, brother. That is the key phrase in college athletics.
So how is this one different than Diego Pavia's?
Well, because the way it's explained to me is Diego's was before this, and he had already transferred, was going to transfer, and then Alberto's was at a couple different schools. It's a good question though, because I don't have the legal chops to really answer that.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what Alberto's attorney argued.
Yeah.
The same thing you just asked me. What's different? And I'll say this. I've talked to Greg Sankey about this, and I asked him that very question. What's the difference between Alberto Osuna's case and Diego Pavia's case? How is it different? He says, well, they got it wrong with Diego Pavia.
Oh,
wow.
Okay,
because
there you go.
That's interesting. Tennessee's defense would have been a lot better had Osuna been cleared.
Well, and
they're bad in the infield, man.
Well, they are bad. They look like the Bad News Bears at times this year.
When in big moments too.
Yeah,
it's not like nobody out, nobody on. Here's a wild throw to first. It's like winning run at first, missed throw to second that goes into the outfield, lose.
Here's I'm not Sparky Anderson. I know I'm dating myself. I know a lot of people out there saying, who the hell is Sparky Anderson? You know who Sparky Anderson is, Slay?
No.
How about you, Babs?
No.
He was the architect of the Big Red Machine, man, back in the late 70s.
And then he went to the Tigers, and he had Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell.
But if you do three things consistently or don't do three things consistently in baseball, A, play shoddy defense and can't field ground balls. B, you can't hit with runners in scoring position.
That's huge, folks.
And C, you give up leads or you can't stand up and deliver out of the bullpen late in games. You do those three things consistently, you're not going to do real well.
All things they struggle with. Yeah, I had a coach tell me one time, field all of the routine plays on defense and half of the exceptional plays, and you're good.
I mean, if they had just fielded some of the routine plays, and then go back to the first game of the LSU series. They're 3-0 ahead going the ninth inning. Liam Dodd pitched a masterpiece.
Right.
And they make errors on
6
back-to-back ground balls and walk somebody. That's the other thing. They've had some key walks in certain situations. They're good enough and talented enough. I don't know if they can turn around, but they're good enough and talented enough. And Tony has a way. 2 years ago, they were on the road, both the regional and the super regional.
Yep.
Won both and got to the World Series. And they had some younger guys on that team. That was before Christian Moore was Christian Moore and Blake Burke was Blake Burke. I don't know that this team has that kind of pop, though, in their bats. We'll find out.
Ryan Schemper with a good tweet from RockyTopInsider.com. He said, Zakai Zeigler's lawsuit argues that the 4 seasons rule terminates Ziegler's market access when it is at its highest.
Right.
The lawsuit claims that Zeigler could make between $2 and $4 million playing college basketball next year.
Yeah. And that's what they'll argue. They'll argue that.
Quote, an irreparable injury to his economic interest, end quote.
And it's all going to go back to that. It is a kid's inability to make what he sees as his market value.
You have to fight it that way.
Yeah, exactly. You're keeping Ron Slay from his fifth year, Zakai Zeigler from his fifth year of making $1 million+ because you're not letting him have that fifth year. That will be probably at the forefront of what they argue. Now, again, will he get that injunction quick enough to be able to play? I don't know. I can tell you one person who definitely hopes so, and that's Rick Barnes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially, that's I was just saying during the break, especially with Florida going to pick up Boogie Flan, all these people reloading throughout the SEC. You would need that. Kentucky is not the Kentucky from last year. So
it's a new world, and I think it's going to continue to change. Courtroom battles are going to be probably as important as battles on the floor, recruiting battles. How teams can figure out a way to, I don't want to say circumvent, but get creative in getting kids on campus. You look at what Tennessee has said. Oh, you can't penalize us. As I said the other day, you guys are giving the big middle finger and said, listen, we got a state law says that supersedes anything that you guys are going to throw at us in this house settlement. Come get us. And if you try to say you're going to kick us, whether it's because this includes Memphis, Vandy, Tennessee, all of them, because they're part of the state of Tennessee. If you're going to try to kick us out of our conference, go ahead. We'll sue for antitrust violation. You're trying to cap. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with any of this, but what they're going to say is you're trying to cap what a kid can make in this new house settlement.
Tornado warning, Benton County, Carroll County, Lawrence County, Lewis County, Murray County, Nash Severe WX. We remain concerned that the supercell could organize a tornado along South Williamson County, 840 toward College Grove. Preventing that has been ingestion of smaller cells, but it could end up strengthening along 840. That was at 425. So we'll keep you updated on the weather situation. Definitely keep your head on a swivel. All right, let's go to the big story. So should we start with the loss with what we were kind of talking about on Friday with regard to the state of Tennessee and what they were trying to do there and trying to get kind of on their own island with things?
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit. Listen, other states aren't going to just sit there on their hands and let Tennessee be the only one that does this.
Have an advantage.
No way. I mean, come on.
With NIL.
You're keeping score, man. Anytime you're keeping score, people are going to be trying to figure out a way to get their advantage. And I think that's what's going on here. The power conferences are the ones under this new settlement. It sounds like they're going to be the ones that have control. Again, the four power conferences, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and ACC. And they are going to be the ones that, quote unquote, enforce what you can give and what's NIL and what's not. Because the settlement says, and I don't want to repeat myself, you guys know the schools themselves can pay $20.5 million to athletes. Most of those schools, the Tennessees, the Georgias, the Bamas, the Ohio States, will use 14 or 15 of that for football, $3 million for basketball. But there's also the opportunity under the collective to pay players what is, quote unquote, and here's the key phrase here, fair market value. Over and above, so if, the biggest car dealership here in Nashville wants to pay Ron Slay $100,000 every Saturday, show up for 30 minutes to sign autographs, is that fair market value?
Hell yeah. It is. I'm sitting there listening to you, Lo, like, man, yes. I need that. Somebody take the first step. We need somebody to take that step.
You got affected by that Zakai line,
that was, hey, man, listen, man, because
your brother even pointed that out. He heard it in you.
Yeah, if you ain't got to start right away in the professional lane, dog, and you can go back to school and get paid more than you would get paid in that profession. Man, give me that cushion.
So if we're fast forwarding to right now, what would Ramon Foster and Ron Slay make a year in NIL?
Ooh, we talked about
I don't know
something.
about Ramon because he's an offensive lineman, right?
That's true.
Sorry, Big Savage. I mean, But
meanwhile, Slay was high flying, dominating games.
Slay would
what's the Ric Flair saying? Headband wearing.
Yeah, that's right. You better know.
Throwing it off the backboard dunk.
Yeah.
Dunking.
Hey, man.
Pearl-Con legend.
I'm telling you, man, I would, man, and being from the state of Tennessee.
Right.
Like, and the thing you would have had to do.
What do you call yourself? The Tennessee Mutt?
Yeah, the Tennessee Mutt.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I'm Memphis ties, Chattanooga ties, and Knoxville and Nashville. Like, you got it all wrapped around. My thing is, man, you wouldn't have to worry about me. Boy, my mama going to be at the door. She going to be at the door getting all kind of endorsements and everything. Lolita wouldn't have played that, boy. We would have, I'm telling you, would have been a different market.
I can still see like it was yesterday. We're at the Swamp, and you guys played them pretty close, but there was some iffy calls down the stretch, and we're in that little breezeway between locker rooms, and here come the officials. Teddy V was on that game. Teddy Valentine. Boy, Lolita was letting him have it.
Really?
What? Letting him have it. They had like security around him, and everything.
Teddy Valentine.
He wouldn't have stood a chance against Lolo either.
TV Teddy.
Ain't no
Ask Lolita. That was epic. I remember that like it was yesterday, Slay.
Yeah.
That's so funny because she's come to our live remotes and says
and not even
nothing.
say anything to us.
Just like chills in the corner, hides.
The first time I saw her, she was over there talking to Slay, and then Slay came back. She left. I was like, "Who were you talking to?" He's like, "Oh, that was my mom." I was like, "Well, crap." So going from what Tennessee did to now what the power conferences are trying to do to react to that, to level the playing field. What are we dealing with there?
Well, and good question, because all this is contingent on the judge signing this House settlement bill, which she hadn't done yet.
Right, and may not do.
And I've had some people tell me, athletic administrators, people that, again, in the legal world, that they're not sure she ever will in this current state. She's already gone back and said, hey, I want to see you tweak this, she had an issue with roster numbers or limitations. I think that there's going to be a lot more battles out there, and who knows when and if she will sign this House settlement. So all these things we're talking about, Brent, about power conferences and Tennessee doing this, all this is contingent if indeed the House settlement, she signs the bill for that to go in effect.
If she signs it, then the power conferences, their goal is to get all of the member institutions within the power conferences to sign their document stating that everyone will play by the same rules. And if you don't sign it, then they can eliminate you from the conference, meaning Tennessee and Vanderbilt can get kicked out of the SEC.
Well,
theoretically.
Yeah, I think there's about as much chance of that happening as me going and pulling a sleigh here and throwing the ball off the backboard and dunking it.
Or you, acting as lead singer for ACDC.
That's true. Yeah. I don't have Brian Johnson's vocal cords. I don't ever see that happening, because what's going to happen is the schools in turn are going to turn around and they're going to sue and say, wait a minute. So you're saying that we got this state law and you're trying to cap what Ron Slay and Zakai Zeigler are making under this new House settlement? No. Yeah. It's going to be it's a spinning circle. I'll tell you what.
What a mess.
I'll tell you what an AD in the league told me, and I won't say who today. We're talking about this morning. He said this is like watching a movie that's a 6-hour-long movie. What was Shawshank Redemption, like 3.5 hours?
Not long enough.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It's like 4 hours.
It's a long one.
Careful, Babs. That's one of the greatest movies of all time.
I love it, too. But it was a long movie.
Red was here.
So imagine one that's 2 hours longer than that.
Yeah.
2:22 is what Zeph said.
And it goes in circles. The movie goes in circles and circles, and you're trying to figure it out. And finally, you get to like hour 5, and you're like, man, can't this thing just end finally?
Yeah.
That's sort of where we are now in college sports. It's going all proposals and court cases, and we're going to sue you, and no, you sue us, we're going to sue you. Nobody knows what it's going to look like. And Jay Billis, who's a heck of a lot smarter than me, was on this morning, I think with one of my compadres, and he said what I agree with. And I know that college chancellors and presidents and some commissioners don't agree with this. I think if we're ever going to completely sort this out, we've got to get to a point where we collectively bargain. Athletes, payment models. Yeah. I just don't see any other way. Yeah, they become employees. I understand that. Contracts, all those things come into play. There will be unintended consequences if we do that. But until that point, I think we're going to be sitting what we're doing right now in this room, and we'll be talking in circles.
Yeah. Yep.
And everyone's suing and countersuing, and well, you can't do that. We're going to sue states, trying to supersede what the NCAA is going to. Will the NCAA even be an entity 2 years from now?
They have zero power.
Not
zero, but
very little.
Limited.
Yeah.
I asked a coach during the end of the tournament, Slade, during the basketball tournament. I said, what could a school right now really get in trouble for? What would really just sort of lambaste a school for doing something wrong? And he said, it would have to be some major, blatant, overt academic fraud scandal where they had...
Like North Carolina?
Oh, wait.
You mean those phony classes?
Right.
Yeah. That everybody, by the way, everybody in the university was taking them, so you can't just blame the basketball players.
Yep.
But it would have to be something like a orchestrated effort where you had a bunch of people taking tests, or doing papers for a bunch of athletes in football or basketball, and they called them red-handed.
Yeah.
That's something I think still would be. But as far as payments, quote-unquote impermissible benefits, back when Georgia recruited Herschel Walker, the story where it was that they'd show up and have a brand-new washer and dryer on his front porch there in Wrightsville, Georgia. You think that was impermissible benefit?
Just fall out the sky, man.
Those old coaches, man. If you ever run into an old football coach,
and they've had a couple pops.
Oh my God,
they tell some great stories.
I mean, the story that we hear from a specific person every time we run into him about the most illegally recruited player that he ever saw was Hartley Dykes, which was a wide receiver at Oklahoma State.
I've heard that. Yeah, and every school back then.
He said he showed up to recruit, and he had the last visit, and he showed up the last visit, and he had like an Oklahoma State Corvette, like colored Corvette in the driveway. He didn't even go in. He's like, over. Wow. Crazy. All right, more with Chris Lowe from ESPN.com when we come back. We were talking about quarterbacks during the break. So Arch Manning getting all the hype, right? Like, so when you talk about SEC quarterbacks, I guess you start there. You like DJ Lagway.
Well, if you gave me one pick right now, and I would go with Lagway. No, I think Arch is going to be a great player. I know people say, wait a minute, Arch Manning. Lagway, to me, checks every box. He's got to still go do it for a whole year. He did it for part of the year last year. But you go back to watching him just take the Tennessee game as an example. He goes in there after Mertz gets hurt, leads him right down the field, throws that people on his face, throws that touchdown pass.
I have no idea why they didn't go for two right there.
Well, if they do, I think they win the game.
Because the crowd was dead right there.
Defense is on its heels.
Yep.
And remember, they ran out. Didn't they run out in the old Emory? Spurs used to call it the old Emory and Henry play.
And they called timeout.
Yeah, we went to old Emory and Henry. James Bates lives right down the road here. But and then they called timeout. So he can throw it. You can get him on the ground. He's got good pocket presence. He's a tough kid. And I think his leadership, he's played more than Arch. So I think he'll be a little bit further ahead than Arch to start the season. But I don't think you can go wrong with either one. And Lenore Sellers is another one.
That guy, man.
He's the closest thing I've seen, not just as an overall player. I'm not comparing the two, but trying to get on the ground to Cam Newton, since Cam Newton was
big body guy
in the SEC. Play breaks down. You think you got him. He's 242 pounds.
It looks like it.
And his
feels like
his feet and the way he moves and the way he gets out of trouble.
Yeah.
I was at the Clemson game last year, and that run he made to put them ahead, once he cut it back up at the 10, there were two safeties coming in on him. And Slay, they both made business decisions.
Yeah, we don't want no parts of it.
Almost won at Alabama. What was the other game? LSU. He got hurt, or they win that one.
Right. Yeah. So those three. And listen, Nussmeier put up big numbers. I think, can he be more consistent? But he certainly's got it. And
they need a run game where you can't just play back on him.
Yeah, let me give you, and I don't know what they have around him. We're going to find out. But the kid who transferred in, the name that I think everybody needs to write down is Mateer, John Mateer at Oklahoma, who comes in from Washington State.
Okay, yep.
Can run it, can throw it, tough guy. I really like his game. And I don't know. They did bring in some players on offense. They went and hit the portal hard, but he's another guy. The good thing for him is he comes in with his offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's got to get used to a different offense or a new OC. But I like him a lot. And I tell you what, not just because we're right here in Nashville right now. Mm-hmm. How many quarterbacks jumped in last year and made the impact immediately that Diego Pavia did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another level to his game, do you think?
I think there is.
He was hurt down the stretch, and I just kept hearing from over there that, hey, man, he's not going to play this week. And then he would.
He wasn't close to 100%.
Or we're going to play him the first half and try to get him out of there. Yeah. They wouldn't.
But he's not going to be. He's tiny.
Right, and he's not. He only knows how to play one way.
Right.
He ain't run out of bounds.
Nope.
And he's just not going to.
I love that guy.
You could say I'll pay you $1 million if you don't take hits and
so I came over here. Was it last month? Spent a day with Clark and the program and talked to him and Bob, and he told me, because he's not an excuses kind of guy, Coach Lee, and he said, listen, he wasn't close to 100%. down the stretch. They weren't going to say that during the season for obvious reasons. They don't want him being more of a target.
Right.
Make it sound, but he was not close, and he was just sort of playing on blood and guts. So, but to your point, Don, playing that way in this league, can you stay healthy for 12 games? I don't know. I don't know how realistic that is.
And probably not at Vanderbilt either, when depth is always a problem, right? Especially in the trenches.
No, but boy, he made a huge difference with that team. I think you could look at all the quarterbacks in the league last year and say who had the greatest impact on their team from going from where they were when they started the season to what they were to where they ended. I think Diego would probably be right up there in the top couple.
Him and Sellers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sellers too. Yeah.
Real quick, now severe WX. Severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. Tornado possible. Destructive winds, 60 mile per hour. Hail up to 3 inches observed. This is for Cannon, Davidson, Rutherford, Williamson, and Wilson County until 5:45. So an hour left on this deal as another big line of storms moves into the Middle Tennessee area. Severe thunderstorm warning for everywhere, basically. But we're trying to monitor the tornado situation. By the way, somebody asked earlier, what's the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning? Tornado watch means conditions are favorable for tornadoes to develop in a specific area, but no tornado has been sighted yet. A tornado warning, on the other hand, means that a tornado has been either sighted or detected by radar in the area, and there is imminent danger. So there's that. Somebody called in and asked to get your take on Gunnar Stockton with Georgia.
Yeah, well, and the best thing I think he's got going for him, and Georgia does, is he played last year on a couple of really big stages. And go back to the SEC championship game. He came in, anybody's game, and he got it done. Now, he didn't throw for 400 yards, but I don't think when he walks out there this year, he's going to be intimidated.
Right.
He's seen it. He's been there when it counts. He's certainly got to be a guy on – because what Georgia asked their quarterback to do is different than some of the schools because they're so good around him. That said, I don't think at running back Georgia's going to be what they have been – I don't see Nick Chubb running around.
Yeah, no Sean Moreno, none of the guys.
But they're still good enough. They're going to be good enough up front. I thought their offensive line underachieved last year. Mm-hmm. They were better than they played.
Yep.
So he's still, though, not going to be asked to throw for 300 yards and have to throw it 40 times a game. It's can he make big throws on third down? Can he move the chains on 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3? He can scramble and run the football. But I think he has played. There was a point, he's been in competitions there on campus for the starting job. Again, I think when you're taking over a place like Georgia, sometimes there's that. Okay, boy, am I ready for this? I don't think he will go through that. I think he's past that, having played when he played on the stages he played at last year.
Two more guys real quick. Jackson Arnold transferring from Oklahoma to Auburn. Do we see something better out of him at Auburn with you? And also Aguilar at Tennessee, because I had to ask the Nico situation question to Coach Heupel the other day when we had him on.
Not the Nico situation, the Aguilar situation.
I told Slay, Babs was watching online. He looked at me like he knew the question was coming. He watched, and it was almost like, I'm going to let you finish. And then I knew he had a response for it. Mm-hmm. And he goes, let's call it the Aguilar situation, which I thought was a beautiful way to respond to that.
Josh can be sneaky witty if he wants to.
Very funny.
So let's start with Don's boys down there on the Plains. He's got to play with confidence. He lost his confidence. And probably more importantly, I think they lost their confidence in him at Oklahoma last year.
Like Stella got her groove back. He needs to get his groove back.
Now, all his receivers were hurt. Every one of them got hurt at Oklahoma last year. But once he got, I think it was the Tennessee game, they benched him. Mm-hmm. And it seems like from that point on, but there's a reason he was a top 3 or top 4 quarterback in the country.
5-star guy.
Everybody wanted him. He's got wheels. He can throw the football. I know he's worked hard. I had a chance to visit with him a month or so ago when I was at the Plains. I went and had one of their lemonades, too, there at Toomer's Corner.
The best.
He said, and talking to his teammates, Brent, he's really worked hard to get to know the guys and hang around them and do things off the football field because he understands the quarterback's got to be the leader of the team. Hugh said that he's thrown the ball great this spring, and here's the other thing. He's got some guys. I think he's got some dudes knowing to throw to. Eric Singleton, remember the Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech?
Yeah.
Can fly. And I think will be a perfect complement to Cam Coleman. And I think those guys will play better as a group because the receivers did not play well last year.
Right.
It wasn't all on Thorne. And the other one was Joey Aguilar. I mean, he's got to win.
A lot of it was.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Joey Aguilar's got to win the job. That's the big thing.
Do you think he'll win the job? Because I
have my doubts. I've said it on the show.
I do too. Now, I'll full transparency. I watched that Clemson game. Was it the Clemson game?
Yeah, he threw 4 picks.
Every single, somebody put together every single throw he made in the Clemson game, and I was like, dude, this is alarming.
He's got a little bit of a gunslinger mentality to him. He can't turn the football over because what Tennessee did the best last year to get to the playoff is Slay. They put it on their put it on their defense, and Jake Merklinger's not just going to roll over. I think there was a chance Merklinger, I know we're up against it here, would have looked at maybe getting in the portal. I think he got a little bit more money, did not, and I think he's ready to compete for that job. This is a very short window, Dawn, for a guy like Aguilar or anybody to come in and win a job. So he just got on campus. A lot of the guys on the team aren't on campus yet, so he's going to have June, July to get to know those guys, throw with them, and then preseason camp starts in August. Here's my prediction. Tennessee plays 2 quarterbacks this year in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Like as a system, not.
No, I don't think they want to do that. I just think the
competition will bleed over.
Right. It will play out that way that they will play 2 different guys at quarterback.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. It is.
Well,
Coolman Hendon took the helm.
Have fun tonight, just kind of chilling.
What time's that reservation, Slay?
Let me call Savage. Savage knows. Sure.
Slay, Slay will take care of you.
Put it on Jordan now.
Like Chris Lowe needs any help in Nashville, though, right?
You go straight on down. I got another little spot to see Lotus.
And when I'm having a cocktail after, I'm going to ask him to blast "Have a Drink on Me" from AC/DC.
So that might work for us.
Have fun at that show tomorrow, man.
Trying to walk a straight line on sour mash and cheap wine.
So you ain't gonna do that, first of all.
My glass is getting shorter on whiskey and some water. See, I'm
schooling us on the way out, CeeLo. That's what you do.
Love it.
I like that.
Chris Lowe, ESPN.com. It's studio. Appreciate you, brother.
See you guys. This has been great.